Hello, and I am Alexis, and this is Kim, and we're going to be talking about lots of things today. So to do with change and pivoting and life. So we're going to first discuss a bit what Kim does, and yeah, so we're going to discuss what does Kim do. Kim does lots of amazing things. She is like this magical, universal business lady with so much more. I don't even know what to. I don't even. How do you classify yourself? Because
I
I
call
can't
it,
put labels on you.
yeah, I call it working with the universe. It's pretty
Mhm.
much just working with the universe. And the thing is that when you look at how the universe works, once you understand how the universe works and how you like what your innate understanding of yourself, it's like that combination of you and the universe and working together. But also that deeper understanding that at the core of everything, you are also the same thing.
Mhm.
Just a bit
Beautiful.
confusing. So this is where it's like so many people go, especially when they're kind of getting an understanding of the universe supports my back, or this is asking the universe, putting it out there, all those kind of things, and then nothing happens.
Mhm.
And what they don't actually understand is we've got our conscious mind, but we've got our subconscious mind. So then
Mhm.
what happens is consciously we will be saying, hey, I want ABC to happen. But what we don't realize is subconsciously we're actually saying, no, I don't. The universe doesn't actually respond to what's here, it actually responds to what's going on underneath. So, this is where consciously you could say, I'm putting it out there and I want this and this and this to happen, again, especially from a manifesting perspective. But then it's like, but why isn't it happening? What we don't realize is that we have deeper thoughts and beliefs around that thing happening, whether it feels hard, whether it we don't believe it, or whatever. Gosh, everyone's different and everyone's got different pathways, right? So this is where people can get really disheartened and really confused around it, especially if things don't work out how they think it's going to work out. And it's like, well, that's not what I thought. The thing is, that's not what I thought is the key thing, because we're actually moving away from thought into what else is possible. So when we're working with the universe is the universe, right? So if we're actually operating from a place of, oh, I just need to operate from what's in my tiny little head, you can see that there's no link between what's in your tiny little head and the universe. Like the universe is it's
Infinite.
unlimited, right? But
Mhm.
it's infinite. So you can already see why we don't match up a lot of the time. So
Mhm.
then the universe goes, fine, well, I'll just match up. But the universe doesn't do anything other than match up energy with energy. So whatever's going on in our tiny little head and our subconscious, which is worse than what's in our tiny little head, it's like, okay, here you go. This is exactly what you are aligned with, which comes going back to basics of how it all works.
Mhm.
And then you go, well, hang on, I don't want that. But the thing is that when we say I don't want that, we're still aligning with the same energy and frequency of that, because we're
Mhm.
thinking about that, which is why, there is that philosophy of, if you want something to happen, you've got to actually think about what you want to happen, not what you don't want to happen.
Mhm.
Because it's like, if you actually focus on what you don't want to happen, and this is going down to wars and all the other stuff in the whole world, when we focus on the things that we don't want, what we don't realize is we're actually keeping them real and in our lives.
What you
So,
focus
because
on, you energize. Mhm.
and what you resist persists. So it's
Exactly.
like, that's just, again, once you understand how the universe works, you can actually start to work with the universe rather than, I'm not going to say against it, because you're always working with the universe. It's just that you're more consciously aware of working with the universe.
Mhm.
So this is where it's like, okay, so that's the first kind of thing, is understanding how the universe works, which, it's an unlimited universe. So there's a lot in that. And then understanding yourself, well, we are also our own mystery. So it's like we can delve really deep into ourselves. And I always say that if you look at your life, that kind of tells you what's going on within you is what's going on in your life. So it's like, if you ever want to see what's going on in your life, you actually have a direct access to what's going on, mainly in your subconscious. And then when you actually say, well, I want to work closer or better with the universe, it all comes down to your deeper intentions and your whys. And this is what we're moving into this year really strongly, is it doesn't matter what you want or where you want to go, you've got to look at why you want that and why you want to go there. Because the universe is focusing more on the whys and the intentions rather than you wanting it. Because if you say, okay, I want to win the lotto, for example, right? So I want to win the lotto, fine. But if you want to win it because you want to pay the bills and you don't have enough money, that's not in alignment with winning the lotto. But if you go, winning the lotto, that could be fun. Again, the intention, but you've got to have a true intention. So this is where you can't fake it till you make it. It's like, you can't say, okay, so I really need money, and I want the lotto to win the lotto to be able to, pay the bills and everything else. You can't pretend that your reality is not your reality. Because it is your reality. And the more that you pretend, again, it's all subconscious stuff. So it's like putting a Band-Aid over the top of the festering mess that's going on inside. So the best way to do that is having a look at your situation and accepting it for what it is, but knowing it can change at any time, because when you work with the universe, it can literally change in a second, because there is no limits with the universe. So there is no, again, when you work with the universe, there is no such thing as time and space. So then what happens is that once you understand how the universe works, and then you understand that everything that happened in your life and to you or for you happened before now, then you can actually have an understanding and feel the truth of the fact that even though that even like now, each now is old. Like as you look at each now, you go, yes, that is the now, but now already it's old. So then it could be something else. And then that's where you can say, well, what does that look like if I didn't have that? Like, what are the possibilities? And, when we say, oh, win the lotto, okay, yes, that's one way, but there are infinite ways to then have money coming to you.
Yeah.
So when you then say to the universe, the lotto is the only way that I need to win the money or get the money, the universe is like, it scratches its head going, really? Because again, that's the only thing that our head can understand. But what if we got out of our head and said, okay, you're an infinite universe and the past is in the past. Show me what else you can do. And you can't have any other thoughts. You literally just have, like back in the olden days, it used to be, you have to be specific as to what you want. But the thing is, it all comes from what you already know. The universe is infinite, and we're moving into times of things we don't know. We're having experiences, like even look at what we're doing now. We're talking on a screen in a real time on different sides of the country. And like, if we were thinking about how that would work in the past, we wouldn't be able to work it out. But still, it's something that happens. So it's like, if we're creating and working with the universe from what we already know, then what happens is we're only limiting ourselves to what we already know. And that's where we can say, well, universe, how about you surprise me with all the possible ways things can happen? And that's where you can just be super, super clear, like when we were talking before, what little projects pop up that help you to see like all these different possibilities as to what's actually happening, because things will lead to different things. So say, for example, I'm talking about a light that's not turning off at my front door, right? And I don't know why that's happening. The thing is, I have a knowing, this is different and this is happening for a reason. And even, you look at the little fish and the things, like there's so many new little things happening in each day. the great thing about that is it keeps you super present in each day, but you're learning new things and then connecting to new people or old people. And again, you don't know how that's actually transpiring into something else for different experiences. You don't know what conversations that can lead to. You don't know what experiences that can take you to. But what I'm experiencing is, especially this year, is brand new experiences, like playing around with food and the earth and all these different things, but not having any ideas of what it is. It's just like the universe gives me the ideas for me to act on them, but then I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what it's doing. And again, as I said before, this is the first time that I've not really said I need an outcome over what I'm doing. I'm like, let's just see what happens, because that feels like the truth. Even if I'm not seeing anything happening, it still feels like I'm okay with that, because I know that something's happening. I just can't see it.
So this is where you've
And just
gone
because
with
I
your
can't
business.
see it.
So what I would love to know, and if you are up for sharing, is how you've gone from, as I know, as we get older, we become a bit more confident, and we work on all those skills and learning to connect with people. What I would love to know is how you came from, because you've got a very businessy background, which is very analytical, logical, to now a space that a lot of people in, say, corporate world would not understand yet. I'm sure it's coming for them, but I would love to know how like a little bit of how you came from that area to then pivot and to change and to actually roll with those changes, because and how you navigated that your way through to then exploring this, this is like a brand new pathway that not many people have been aware of. So do you want to share a little bit about that, if that's okay?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely seeing, because I've been doing this work for a fair while now. And, in the early days, speaking the way I'm speaking would have been weird. But I think these days, particularly in business, a lot of people are speaking about working with the universe and, even, your neighbor or whatever, I'm going to put it out into the universe. Like that's a common thing that I'm hearing a lot, which means whether it's conscious or subconscious, people are understanding that there is this energy outside of us which we have access to. But when it comes to business, I think people are always looking for the next best thing and always looking for how they could be better at what they're doing. And this is where, definitely from a corporate and business perspective, it's an untapped area, which, whether it's for whatever reason, whether it is financial or, operational or whatever, to be able to get access to like a higher power that already exists, that we don't even have to find, it's already there, that we can use not only better our products, services, all that sort of thing, but also working with the natural laws of the planet. Like, I think that's probably, and this is definitely where we need to be going, because we can't keep doing what we're doing to the planet and expect the universe to be working with us, because it's like literally working against the natural laws. And this is where I've found the universal bitch slap will come along and just go, yeah, no, you're not doing that. Because again, like if you look at things like natural disasters, and we call them natural disasters, but things that happen in the world, it's literally the universe going, reset. Like, and even COVID was a great example of, guys, just cut the bullshit, like get back to basics, look at yourselves, look at what's important. And it's really interesting that through COVID, every single person had a different experience, even neighbors. And, and it's just like, that's not for no reason. So when it comes to business, it's like such an advantage for a business to operate from maybe we can call it a spiritual place, which is working laws of the universe to this untapped area, which it already exists. Like, it's already an area that exists. So why would we not tap into that? But I don't like using the word intuitive because I kind of feel like that's just what everyone is. So it's like everyone just being naturally aware, but it's just evolved through all the different work that I've done. I started, in customer service and, working as in a hairdressing and all that sort of thing, and then moving into working in hotels. And it's interesting that, especially from a customer service perspective, I was taught quite through the Hyatt hotel system. It was like, you have to exceed expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you can exceed expectations is to understand what those expectations are. But again, you don't know these people.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you understand what people's expectations are? Well, you tune into them and you work out what it is. You can speak to them, you get to know them, and then do things that actually make a difference to them. And so that was always something that was really drummed into me through the hotel system, was exceeding expectations, giving people more than what they wanted. But then again, you had to understand people to be able to know what they did. And then I ended up moving into the event world. Again, it's all about exceeding expectations and running events, but also you had to understand what people wanted for the events. Mm-hmm. And then moving into wedding planning, which, that was actually for destination weddings, which, I wouldn't even meet the bride and groom until the day before the weddings. So a lot of it was highly intuitive, but I didn't realize that's what I was doing because it was very, very natural. And particularly lining up the client with the provider or the service provider for the wedding was extremely based around intuition, and they were always perfectly matched. Design wise, it was all receiving information that would bring their visions that they had in their head into a reality. Again, you have to read minds to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I started teaching wedding planning and saying you've got to have a sixth sense and you've got to be able to read minds, and people are just looking at me going, what are you even talking about? And that's when I went, that's weird, you can't do that. And that's where, and even I'd have these 40-page documents of the whole running of the events and everything else, and I would intuitively just flick through and know exactly where to go, what to do, what needed to be done. And especially on the day, if there was something that happened, I loved it when someone come up and go, oh, there's an issue, because I knew that it would actually help me to tune into what's the answer. Little Kim in this little head here, I sound just blonde underneath this. It's just I love to receive new ideas, new answers. And so I would use it as a great challenge. Okay, what else could we do here? And then, the people and the places and the things would just come out of the woodwork, and it would just work and it would be perfect. And also I had the philosophy that I was learning with every single event and every single wedding. So I would always be evolving and growing. And I had even though I'm a Virgo and a perfectionist, I would not be perfect when it came to doing that, because like you were saying before, I knew that I was always going to be using every wedding to be better and better. So that's what I did. And then I remember one day I was sitting there, and I don't know, because again, I wasn't actively working with the universe, but I kind of just said, universe. I looked at my work and everything else, and I'm like, this is 98% admin work that I'm doing as a wedding planner, and I love people. I'm like, universe, how about you just organize something for me where I can just get paid to talk to people? And I just let it go, thinking that was a fun thing to do because, I just didn't even think anything of it. But eventually then I had wedding businesses coming to me and asking me to help them with their systems, because again, as a business person and also a wedding planner, I knew everything about the industry. I knew about charging, about systems, about processes, about everything. And so I then started working with, because I've also got a business degree, which, not that it technically helps, but it helps. So then what happened is I actually was sitting with, like, I was working with all these different, celebrants, musicians, photographers, florists, stylists, and like working with their businesses and making them really successful in their businesses. And I remember one day I was sitting with a photographer and I got this little message pop into my head saying, "Hey," she was like this, "Hey, you're getting paid to talk." And I was like, "Oh, biggest shock." I was like, "So I am. That's weird." And then what ended up happening, I do remember there was a time where the weddings started to seem less purposeful and helping people was more purposeful. I kind of started to lose interest in weddings. I mean, it was 12 years of doing them. So
Yeah.
plus the other hotel work. So then what ended up happening is I noticed that a lot of my business clients would just say, "I can't charge that. I just can't charge that." And I'm like, "Everyone else is. Why can't you do it?" Like, and so that's when I knew, that's where I started getting access to looking at blocks and so forth. And it was really interesting, again, the process around how that evolved. So all the pivots have just been natural evolutions. So a friend of mine, she's done beautifully, really well in business online at the moment, but a really good friend of mine, she actually just randomly sent me this EFT video and she said, "Oh, just try this." And I was like, because I thought I'd have to do NLP or something to change the mind. And there was this video of tapping, and I just thought, "Oh, cool, let me just try this." And I tried it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is mind blowing." And then literally thought, "Okay, let me see if I can find out more about this," and found out there was an actual training course in my town in Noosa, like little Noosa, that weekend. And I'm like, I'm signing up, I'm doing it. And I then became a practitioner, which then eventually sold the wedding business. Still had the coaching, business coaching, but mainly focusing then on the the tapping. The tapping was amazing, and I did practitioner 1 and practitioner 2, and that was over a couple of years, and ended up just really getting into the body. And tapping, I even just used it just last week for someone's physical issue. Tapping is a very good way of changing, because it's a physical thing, so it actually really helps to tap on the body and to realign it energetically, which is so cool. But it was then through the tapping that it must have, well, it did open up channels to other things, and I started getting, messages and dead people and coming through, and I was just like, "Oh, okay." And that just really evolved quite quickly. And this was a good, probably, more than 10 years ago that this all happened. So it just like, I then started working with guides, and then, these beautiful archangels, we love all them. And then literally, I do remember it was literally the beginning of 2015 where I started getting a change in the communications. And then I still doing tapping, but I started doing, working on, giving messages and all that sort of thing. And 2015, that was when the universe turned up and started to, and that's still like, even my husband would go, "I don't even know what I understand the tapping thing, but this universe thing," and I'm like, "I don't understand it either, but it just, like, the information I get kind of is true and it works, so I'm not going to diss it." So again, from a business perspective, why would you? If it's going to help. And it actually, systematically, like, whenever I've listened to this, and anyone else who works with me listens to the little nudges or the downloads or anything, I'm like, it always just takes you to another level and another experience, and it ends up working, even though, again, our head doesn't think that that's how it works. And so the philosophy really is based on working with the universe, is that our head is like having a computer, and you've got your computer files, but the universe is like tapping into the internet. And so if we look really at what we're doing these days, we hardly ever go into our computer folders. We never go backwards, like, unless we really need to retrieve something. But again, if we look at our heads, we're constantly going into our heads. And this is why a lot of people are struggling on the planet, because we're still using our computer to get new information, and we're just never going to get it. So that's what I've seen is, a lot of anxiety and overwhelm and what sort of thing is literally the universe saying, you're not going to get it from there. You've got to tap into another resource. And so then again, being focused, and this is the main focus, is that we're constantly connected to the internet rather than going into those old folders. What then happens is we're constantly giving you information. We're constantly moving ahead. We're constantly evolving and growing and having fun on a planet with other people.
Isn't that what
Like
it's
this.
about? Yeah. So
That's really what
I just realized some of the premise of this was talking about confidence, but confidence is really a head game, isn't it? And if you are working and you're aligned with where you're going and you're following those steps, confidence is already it's a non-issue because if you're following the guidance that you're given, then you know that you're exactly where you need to be in perfect timing. And all the baggage that comes with that word, because that's been in my head for a while, it just doesn't exist, does it? It's just you're
and
confident because you are who you are and you own who you are and you accept that
yeah.
you've got those steps and you're following them and you're aligned with where you're going, then that's not even it doesn't exist, does it? It's not like it's not
And
real
that's what
issue.
you'll start to find that concepts that we were living with will start to not exist. And so even if you look at the concept of, and I call everything a concept because pretty much that's what they are. So let's just say the concept of confidence came from, certain experiences and things like that, and it did exist. But what I've been given for this year, particularly, is a word that, as you said, could technically lift the level of confidence to a new level where confidence could say you either have it or don't have it. But what if again there was no such thing as confidence or no confidence, that it just was? So this is where it's technically the word for this year is belief. So if you believe in something and that everything will work out and that you trust and know that everything is good. Even trust is saying that I need to trust, but that's a future thing. Like if you just here in this moment, then trust doesn't exist because you're just being
Mhm.
yourself and doing things. Again, the be do have, right? So
Mm.
yeah, confidence probably doesn't exist here, but also trust doesn't exist here. When people say to me, oh, I need to trust, can you see that needing to trust is a future concept? Whereas when we're in the now, we just are. So that doesn't exist. So then it's like, okay, so if we're in this current moment and we believe that we will be okay, that we believe we are looked after, that our experiences from the past, which is really hard to believe it if you've not had the experience. So
Mm.
this is where I like to actually allow people to have the experience of seeing the magic of the universe happen and then being able to trust and know that it's a thing. Then what happens is that we are then operating always in the current moment, always connected to this universal information that and the wisdom and knowledge that can pop in at any time. So then we don't need to worry about things, and then we don't need to actually try to do anything. We can just be here having a good time and then allowing these natural processes to evolve with us rather than us trying to force them or whatever. And then we'll start to find that concepts such as time, limits, anything that we created as concepts from the past will start to slowly fall away, like you said, which means that it's like, and I'm not going to say what it's going to look like because that would come from what I currently know. And my gut feeling is what we currently know is nothing compared to what it could be. So I'm going to say again, this is where a lot of people know that we're moving into the unknown and we cannot continue living the way we're living when we're moving into the unknown, which is operating from what we know. We need to
Mm.
actually, again, know that we don't know, but know that we will know at some stage.
Isn't that's so fun?
It just is. And so, like, again, like I say, I've got this light in the hallway that doesn't turn off. I don't know how it's going to work now. I've tried what I do know. Yeah, I'm going to go into the I don't know and let me just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a sitting back and waiting. It's like the universe will give you ideas and things for you to try, which again give you an experience which
Mm-hmm.
helps you towards that thing. And then you learn something new from every experience, which then tells me that is there really any good or bad experiences
It all part of the
when they're
growing.
just, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we're here for the experiences. We signed up for the experiences. So let's have them. And then when we don't resist the bad experiences because we understand that they're all just experiences we're having, then what happens? We don't have resistance to the bad experiences. So the possibility of them happening are less. I'm not going to say they're not going to happen, but what I've experienced is that they occur less when we're actually okay with all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we do need to, this sounds weird, stop resisting, but again, that's another resistance. We need to be okay with what's happening, which is why the acceptance is actually so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And that level of surrendering to what's happening allows us to transform and transmute into a different experience
And
because we're allowed.
yes, and I know you're playing with surrender, which that's a totally different. We'll be talking forever on that one. So so I might
I think the essence really is the fun element. The fun element is something that we can't really aspire to having fun, but that's actually a really key part of what I've noticed when we're doing this is
Mhm.
that it is fun. And you can be guaranteed when you actually work with the universe that it's actually super fun to see where it takes you.
Beautiful. All
Yay.
right. So on that note, we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much for coming and sharing all that amazing wisdom that just flows out of you. I love that. So I hope that our
My
listeners and
rambling from the universe.
our audience appreciate and maybe get a little bit of something that sparks something for them because I feel I just found a name. um, it's been amazing to talk to
Are
you.
you going to share?
Just the name a spark. It's to do with sparks. Anyway, that's a later topic. Thank you. We're
Yes.
going to wrap up and
Thank you.
yeah, you can find Kim everywhere. She's on YouTube, she's on Facebook. You're on Instagram too, aren't you? Yeah, you're in there.
Instagram, and I'm loving TikTok. I'm loving TikTok at the moment. I really think it's a really beautiful place to hang out, particularly from getting information. I think there's really cool information on there. So I'm going to start playing on there a little bit more too.
Oh, lovely. And if you can either find her on her socials or on your website, which if you look up Kim Eibrink Jansen, I'm sure you'll find her. So beautiful. Thank you so
Yay.
much for chatting. And I'm going to wrap that up. Thank you everyone for watching. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. And let us know what you thought of it. So thank you.